Alternatives Act. That was a bill that we passed in Minnesota, and that was for pro-life organizations that were nonprofits. It put the local life care centers on the same footing as Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood in Minnesota got a lot of state grants, but the pro-life organizations didn't get anything, even though they were offering pregnancy testing and all the rest. They didn't get anything. So it was to allow them to also have that benefit.
Was that a dollar for dollar match requirement?
You know, I don't think it was dollar for dollar, but I could be wrong. I don't know what it is now. I know we started out with just a set amount of money, and I don't know what it went to after that. But I had introduced it in the United States Congress as well. It would have that.
Congresswoman, you said in your speech that you wanted to also abolish other government agencies that annoyed you. Which other ones besides education and the tax code?
Well, there's been talk about abolishing the Department of Energy and also the Department of Commerce. And I think that any place where we could abolish, we should go ahead and cut back and abolish, because the private sector can handle that on their own. The big problem in energy, for instance, has been the fact that the United States has not legalized a significant amount of energy production in the United States. The untold story is that the United States is the largest energy reserve in the world. Most people don't know of that. They think that it's the Middle East. But a Congressional Research Service came out with a report this year that also reaffirmed once again that if you take all American sources of energy and convert them to barrels of oil equivalent, we are #1 in the nation, in the world. And that's what we need to do. We need to have an all of the above energy strategy. We don't need the Department of Energy to do that. The private sector can very well on its own create all the energy that we need.
You mentioned your disappointment in the budget deal.
Yes.
On what would you like your House leadership to stake a fight on?
Well, on the defunding of Obamacare, this will change our country forever. President Obama promised us that the average household would see $2,500 per household decrease in health insurance premiums. Instead, health insurance premiums have spiked 20%, 40% for people, employers as well. And a number of employers now are considering dropping their health insurance altogether. And so I think that on every level, this has been a deception. And so I would like to see them take up the defunding of Obamacare. Plus, almost every state legislature is in the process of implementing the private health exchanges. That's the structure needed to deliver Obamacare. Only 2 states, Alaska and Florida, are not in the process of setting up these private exchanges. So I had spoken with some of the members of the Iowa legislature and encouraged them not to set up the private exchanges in Iowa, because it will be extremely expensive for Iowans. All Obamacare is a bureaucracy. It's not more health care. It's a bureaucracy. There's no new doctors, no new nurses. It's a bureaucracy, very expensive. And so we're getting 159 new boards and commissions and bureaucrats, but it's not delivering more health care. So the same people that were paying for health care before will just be paying more, only we'll have at least 30 million new people on the system receiving taxpayer subsidies, as many as perhaps 50 million new people on the system. This will change us forever. And I guess my other point would be, in the future, if we ever have, we will have more budget battles in the future, but in those battles, will we be willing to take on a government slowdown? Because government doesn't shut down in a shutdown, it slows down. So would we be willing to risk a slowdown if it means 30 to 50 million people would lose that subsidy? You know, it might be even, people might even be less willing to take on the budget fights in the future, and we have to. The reason why this is so important is because the next generation is looking at a marked reduced standard of living, highly reduced standard of living from anything we know today. Why would we do that to the next generation? Why would we do that? We have to change course.
Congresswoman, you mentioned the military and same-sex marriage and that they're opposed to it. Can you tell me a little bit about what?
Don't ask, don't tell?
Yes, and what makes you think that you think they're opposed to the current policy?
Well, don't ask, don't tell was working in the military. It was working, and it was a policy that people were happy with. It allowed people who had same-sex attraction to serve in our United States military without penalty. They just couldn't be overt about it. Now they can be overt about it. Another bill that passed at the congressional level was the hate crimes legislation, and this is directly a curb on speech and on our First Amendment rights to be able to have a speech that disagrees with our United States government. And then the next effort that didn't pass, but that I know that the liberal left is trying to get passed is the ENDA bill, which is the Employment Non-Discrimination Act, which would force organizations like the Iowa Family Council or Pella Christian High School to hire people who are not necessarily in line or agreement with, let's say, Pella Christian High School. And that, again, takes away the liberty interests of people from Pella Christian High School to uphold the philosophy of this school.
Congresswoman,
We have time for one more question. Last question.
Congresswoman, some groups, including this one, I believe, have argued that homosexuality is a public health crisis akin to secondhand smoking. I was wondering if you agreed with that.
I don't have an answer on that. I don't have an answer.
Oh, okay.
Why don't I have another question?
Are you for getting rid of, let me be clear, are you for getting rid of Departments of Energy and Commerce? Are you saying you're
Am I for that? I think that's something that I would be open to and consider. Because the private sector, the free market economy takes care of those functions. We don't need government intervention. That's been a part of the problem, is government intervention, which has added costs and burdens to the private sector. Also, the EPA has drifted from their focus on conservation of clean air, clean water, and they've drifted now into other areas, and the cap and trade bill is one that's adding in an enormous fashion to our regulatory burden. It's really a brand new tax. That's what cap and trade is. It's a new national energy tax, and that was something also that we had hoped to defund in this current budget bill, and that was not defunded.
Thanks, everyone.
A lot of our businesses wanted to see it.
Thank you.